I was surprised to see how many people are actually using Ahrefs. We don't usually have a crowd that's this large of all Ahrefs users. So today I actually want to start off with a story. Has everyone heard of the story of David and Goliath? Yes? No? Okay, so for those of you that haven't, there were basically two groups of people. There were the Israelites and there's the Philistines. And they're at war for like 40 days and 40 nights. And finally, they're just getting sick and tired of this. So this giant from the Philistine side, his name is Goliath. He's like 9 feet tall, decked out in armor. He's got one of those javelins. And he comes out and he's like, let's put an end to this war. Send me your greatest warrior, and whoever wins this battle wins the war. And so long story short, this small little dude, David, comes out with nothing but a sling and a stone. He throws it at Goliath. Goliath gets hit in the head, falls down, Israelites win. So the idea of the David and Goliath story, it's used today mostly to, I guess, represent an underdog story. So like the Utah Jazz beat the Toronto Raptors, your classic underdog story. Now, I want to put this into perspective with a couple people you know. So this is the Sam versus Seth story. And so for this conference, Seth was highlighting it. And 97th floor, they are smart. And they know that putting Seth Godin at the top of that landing page is going to drive people to this conference. Aside from the workshops, aside from the other talks, Seth Godin is the cherry on top. We all love him. We all know him. Now, I'm on this page too. But the thing is, you have to scroll down here to find me. So chances are, many of you didn't find me at all until right now. Now, putting this into perspective of link building, in the case that I were to send you an email right now with a super awesome case study, a super convincing reason as to why you should link to me, chances are maybe 5 to 8% of you might link to me, right? Sound familiar? Now, if Seth were to email you he's just looking at that subject line that says, give me a link, please. Maybe 20% of you would go out of your way to find a place to link to him. And the reason being, you might want to build a relationship with him, you might appreciate his work, you might want to just thank him for that. So there are Goliaths in every industry. In health, there's Healthline. In marketing, there's HubSpot. WordPress, we have WP Beginner. Personal finance, NerdWallet. And recipes, all recipes. We all see them. They show up for literally any search query that we search for in their industry. But the truth is that the majority of us are like David's. We haven't quite made it yet. Our networks are small, our teams are small, our budgets are limited, and you can insert whatever excuse you have here. So this presentation is all about hope. We are all Davids, maybe not. So my name is Sam O. I am the Director of Product Education at Ahrefs, and today's presentation is all about link building at scale. So getting big links with a tiny team. And so no matter what you consider to be tiny, whether that's 2, 5, 10, it doesn't matter. The systems that I'm going to show you today work for pretty much any size team. So here's a little bit of proof of concept. So this was a PR campaign that myself and my old business partner worked on. We got 3,000 referring domains in 1 month to a finance page. And if you've ever tried to build links to finance, it's not easy. People don't generally want to link to there. And the kinds of links we got were from BBC, CNN, Shopify, and the list just goes on. This is Ahrefs' blog. I don't think there has been more than 8 people working on the blog ever at one time. And even in the past year, all we did was have 5 people do 1 guest post per week. Everything else was natural link growth. And you might argue that Ahrefs is a Goliath in the SEO industry, but it wasn't always that way. We had to grind to get there. We sent the outreach emails, and the kinds of links that we're getting, Wix, HubSpot, Entrepreneur, even Moz, and the list goes on. Now, this is the kind of site that I want to expand on. This is a health hub. It's a section of a health website that I own, and over 2018, we had 20 links in natural link growth. Not really exciting. So we launched our first link building campaign in January or end of December, and more than doubled that. And the kinds of links that we're getting are from Pop Sugar and a bunch of natural health sites. And since you guys are familiar with Ahrefs, the DR scores aren't half bad. In terms of labor, it costs us around $12 per link. So I spent an hour per week prospecting, and then I hired someone in quality assurance. He didn't even know what SEO stood for. I still don't think he knows what SEO stands for. He just does his work, gets it done, works about 5 hours per week, and it's all because of systems. And across the domain, 220 referring domains in the last 3 months. So why do links matter? Well, we studied 920 million pages, and we found a clear correlation between the number of referring domains pointing at a page and the amount of search traffic it gets. And we also found a similar correlation with the number of keywords that the page ranks for. So the link building process, we're all familiar with this, yes? We have prospecting, finding emails, outreach, and then tracking. Now what people don't realize is that this simple basic process, when you're scaling it, it still follows that exact same process. The only difference is that it's systematized. But the thing is that systems do not mean automation. So I'm not talking about spam. I'm not talking about shotgun emailing everyone you possibly can to get a link. It's not about automation, because your best links are going to come from helping people. So here's an example. I create videos for Ahrefs, and someone decides to email me, and he just says, Sam, I love the videos that you create. I've learned so much so that I want to link to your health website. And I'm thinking, like, how do you know my health website? That's supposed to be a secret. Like, my name's not even on there. But apparently, I showed it in one of the videos. And just because I had helped him, unknowingly helped him, he wants to email me, and the last line says, anyway, just a little appreciation because you teach us so much. And this is how far helping someone can go, is they can link to you even if you don't know that they know your website. So this presentation is not about PBNs, it's not about link exchanges, or anything that's blatantly against Google's terms of service. It's about processes and workflows. It's about link building strategies, and I'll be focusing primarily on prospecting because that's generally the trickiest part, the team members and the training you need to give them, and all of this is centered around efficiency. So again, your basic link building process, let's throw it into a framework and let's use Trello. So if you look carefully, each list represents the stages of the link building process. And on the left-hand side, we have documentation. Now, documentation often gets skipped, but my advice is to invest in documentation. It's important because turnover is not going to kill your link building campaigns. Someone quits, someone moves up, someone moves on, you keep the process moving. You can also easily make modifications to your SOPs. Your first draft is never going to be your best. You're going to have to add on to it. You're going to find certain things work better for one business than the other, and so you're going to learn to adapt and to teach your team. And this is an example. This is my email finding doc. It's nearly 1,800 words, and there's a 15 to 20-minute video that goes along with it. You might think it's overkill, so if you've ever found an email address before, you could probably explain to someone in like 30 seconds, but this is going to easily take hours of their time. But this documentation is so clear that I can pick anyone off the street and say, do you want a job? I need someone to find me emails. And within a day, he's going to be a pro. So again, the framework, if you're not familiar with Trello, everything that's rectangled there is called a board. And so I want you to think about boards as a client or a website. So each client or website should have a separate board. The lists, we've already covered that. And then we have cards, which are the link building campaigns. So in this case, I have a broken link building campaign on what is content marketing. So this would be an article that I'm doing a broken link building campaign on. And the beauty of Trello is that as you continue to work, it continues to move down the list. You can tag people, you can add attachments, you can ask questions, and you can help each other out so that every person that's in the next step will be in the know, will know if there's anything special that came up, and we can keep everyone in the loop. And I'm sure you can imagine that as you have 10, 20, 100 different cards, it's literally just constantly moving and processes are constantly flowing. So the first person on your team is going to be your link prospector, and this is the person that is responsible for finding relevant pages and websites that will likely link to you. In terms of traits, in a small team setting, if we're talking about 2 to 5 people, they'll often be your project lead. They'll be your SEO lead. They're going to be experienced. They're going to know how to execute these strategies. They're going to be analytical, and they're going to be obviously have the experience of executing these link building campaigns before. Tools, Ahrefs, Google Sheets, Scrapebox, Google Search, and Screaming Frog. And these are all great tools. I recommend them all. So the link building strategies we'll be covering today are guest posting, broken link building, unlinked mentions, and my absolute favorite of all is observation. So first, let's start off with guest posting. And you've probably tried this before. Sorry, I skipped a slide there. But in terms of link building, you always need to think of the benefit that it's going to give to the person, right? You don't reach out to someone and say, like, can you give me a link, please? And sadly, that's the kind of emails that are usually going around. Like, I created a really good guide. Can you give me a link? And in my opinion, it provides no value to the person that you're reaching out to. So with guest posting, they get content, hopefully good content, and you get a link back to your site. So this is the one that I was talking about. You've probably tried this before, and you just search for a search operator like guest post by Untitled:'fitness. And if you look at the search results, you're going to see that they're very relevant. They all were guest posts on certain sites, and the titles all include the word fitness. So in that case, they might be good link prospects. So what we can do is we can set the Google search settings to the top 100 search results, and then we're going to install a Chrome extension called Scraper. Does anyone use Scraper by chance? No, oh my gosh. Okay, this is like one of the best tools, like you need to get this. So basically you can scrape a whole bunch of data, HTML data from any website. And so in this case, you would add that XPath code, and I'm gonna tweet out the slides. I have a few formulas in here, so you guys can just copy and paste them. But you copy and paste that XPath code in there, and it's gonna scrape all of the top 100 Google search results. So rather than going through one by one, you literally have 100 search results right away. You'll copy them to the clipboard and add them to your sheet. Now, the problem with this is that we don't have any SEO metrics. So we don't know whether these pages or these domains and guest posting for them is really going to move the needle. So we use Ahrefs SEO toolbar. And so when you enable that, you can get the domain level and page level metrics in Google search. And so in this case, we're looking at the domain level because we're talking about guest blogging. And the two metrics that I would look at here are domain rating and search traffic. So domain rating it represents a website, the strength of a website's backlink profile. So you probably want something decent there, and then you have search traffic. And in my opinion, it's good to look at both. Because if you have a website, let's say they have a DR of 70, which is pretty high, but their search traffic is like 150, there's probably something going on there. And so in that case, it may not be the best choice to actually pitch them, spend your time and money, and actually guest post for that site. And you can also download the 100 results there, so you don't need to use Scraper in this situation, and you're going to end up with the CSV that looks like this. And so you can just do your regular sheets filtering. In this case, I'm looking for websites that have a DR of over 30. Scrapebox. Okay, so Scrapebox, anybody use Scrapebox? Yes, okay, so Scrapebox I think was originally created as a black hat tool, but it can be used for white hat purposes. And so the first thing we do is we need to get and test proxies. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna help you bypass, when you have to click 5 sidewalks and then you click verify and then it's wrong, so you have to click 5 buses, and like this happens all the time. So this is gonna bypass that problem that we have. Next, we need to add footprints to the harvester. And this is what we were talking about before with the guest post by. You can do this for resource page link building. You can do it for virtually anything where you're going to be using Google search results to build your list of prospects. Then we're going to run it, we're going to deduplicate, and we're going to export. And so the same problem exists. We don't have the SEO metrics, and so you can just take your list, you can throw it into batch analysis tool, which is going to give you the SEO metrics for all of these pages, all of these domains, all at once. And in the case that you have like 15,000 URLs, use Screaming Frog, and then you can connect Ahrefs API to it, crawl all the pages, and it'll do it passively, and so you'll have a CSV at the end with 15,000 pages with all of the SEO metrics. It's a really fast way to do it. You don't have to even be sitting there to do it. Method number 3, Content Explorer. This is the most underutilized tool in Ahrefs' entire SEO tool set, but it's the most used one by me. I love this tool. In this case, I'm looking for articles that have the word fitness in the title. And I'm going to set a few filters here. So English, for obvious reasons. Domain rating, we've already discussed that, and then 1 link per domain. So this is going to deduplicate pages from the same domain, because with guest posting, we don't need to pitch the same website numerous times, right? And then we have this other one, highlight unlinked domains. And this one is awesome. You just enter in your domain here, you click highlight, and Content Explorer is going to highlight all of the domains that have never linked to you. And the reason why this is important is because in general, the first link brings the most value rather than continuously linking from the same website. So if you have Let's say you have an account at the Huffington Post, a strong authoritative site. Rather than continually posting there for the purpose of links to link to numerous pages, it's better that you just spend your time and focus on reaching out to new sites, getting links from different websites that have never linked to you before. So the pros of guest posting, it's a high hit rate. Your pitch to link ratio is going to be very nice compared to other tactics. And also you can control which pages you want to link to. And this is pretty important because certain topics are tougher to get links to. So when you can control that, you control the context of the content, in which case you can link to those pages that need them. The cons, it's time consuming, and you can solve that by outsourcing it, but doing it at scale is going to cost the big bucks. Broken link building, my favorite. Everything's my favorite. So what is broken link building? Basically, you find a 404 page that has links, you recreate that page, and then you reach out to everyone who's linking to that page, and you ask them to link back to you. And this illustration is kind of realistic because not everyone is going to link back to you. In fact, this is a little bit generous. So the benefit, you're helping people fix a UX issue. So people don't like to click on a broken link, end up somewhere else, and oftentimes that results in a bounce. And so you're helping them, you're bringing something to their attention, and in return, you get a link. So we can do this in Site Explorer. You basically just enter in a competitor's domain, and then you go to the Best By Links report. And then you can set a filter to show only pages that return a 404 response code, so broken pages. And in addition to that, you're going to get the Seo Metrics. So in this case, you can see that Content Marketing Institute, the #1 page, is what is content marketing, which is the example I used in the beginning. There's 140 unique websites that are linking to this page, which is crazy. And so 140 potential link prospects. So this looks interesting. Let's analyze the backlink profile. So we're going to look at this, we're going to try and vet it, and since we're just talking about prospecting, we're not getting too deep yet, we're going to look at it, say it's all good. Now, after you've gone through Content Marketing Institute, who do you go through next? Maybe a competitor you know, maybe you just don't know. So you can enter in your own domain, and then go to the Competing Domains report. And this is going to show you your organic search competitors, competitors that are trying to rank for the same keywords as you. Then you just rinse and repeat steps 1 through 5 over and over and over again. And now we have a system. But we're not done yet. We're going to check your external links. Your competitors have broken links on their page. You probably do too. So you go to the Outgoing Broken Links report. And in this case, for Ahrefs blog, we're linking to an article from Google. It's on mobile site speed. You guys have probably seen it. But they killed that page for whatever reason. And there are 274 referring domains pointing at that. And so we can do this over and over and over again with weeks, months, years worth of link building prospects. So let's find out what's on that page. You can click on view on archive.org. You see what's there. You recreate it in your own way. Ahrefs has a site audit tool. So we can technically put our data together on page speed, create our own study, and we have 274 link prospects. So this is your entire system for broken link building. Run it over and over and over again. Again, I'll tweet this out so you can run through this at your own pace. Next is unlinked mentions, and this one's a little bit different. The reason why they're going to link to you is because they like you. And this is kind of like that Seth example in the beginning. So obviously, your benefit, you get a link. So let me explain. So an unlinked mention is when someone mentions your brand name, but they don't link to you. So you email them and you ask for the link. And oftentimes, they'll just do it because they like you. I know it sounds weird, but you got to think about it like this. You're already halfway there. They know you, they like you, they've mentioned you, they just didn't link to you. And so when you ask for that favor, it's a lot easier to actually get these links. And so we're running a campaign on this right now and converting at around 20%, which is pretty good. So step 1, you go to Content Explorer and enter in your brand name and variations of your brand name. So in this case, I'm looking for Ahrefs or Ahrefs or Ahrefs or Href, and then I'm excluding pages from our own domain because we don't need those pages. Second, we're going to set some filters. The only one that I want to touch on here is date. And the reason why, we don't want to contact people who mentioned us 15 years ago. They probably don't remember us. It's probably irrelevant at this point. So in this case, I set it to the past year. We're going to export the results, 4,500 rows. And then we're going to run these through Screaming Frog. And this is a huge time saver. So you set up a custom search configuration. So you go to Configuration, Custom, and Search. and then you enter in this piece of regex code. And again, this will be all available. I'll make sure that you guys all get the slides. And the only thing you need to replace here is the domain.com part. So you would replace that with yours. And so if you look at the actual filter, it's saying, show us pages that do not contain a link to Ahrefs. So we know that the mention exists because of Content Explorer. Now Screaming Frog is going to tell us whether they actually link to us or not. So we'll run our crawl, go to the custom tab, and we can export the results. And again, 4,500 rows to start, and we have just under 2,600 rows that did not link to us. That's a lot. That's more than half of the people who are mentioning us, but not linking to us. Observation, okay. So observation is going to take you farther than any link building tactic, technique, or hack. And unfortunately, it's the most underutilized link building strategy because oftentimes people are looking for a golden ticket. Unfortunately, no such thing exists. The great thing about observation is that you can connect on a common interest. And that's how we build relationships often, right? We connect on common interests. So here's one way you can use the observation technique. Let's call it that. So you can find linkable content types from any industry. So let's say, for example, you are a competitor of Ahrefs, and you want to find the types of content that people link to our blog. So you type in ahrefs.com/blog, and you go to the Best By Links report. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can read that, but if you just analyze the titles of our articles, what kind of content do you think attracts links for us? Anybody have a guess? There we go. Research. Did I hear essay? Yeah. SEO. Yeah, so SEO is our niche. Research, data studies, and big guides is what attracts links for us. And even if you look at those previously data studies, we changed that because of search intent, but we built links because of data studies. So in that way, I believe our ranking went for on-page SEO went from like rank 40 to rank 4 in 4 days after we changed for search intent. But that's a story for another day. So what you can do after you research your competitors is you can create link bait based on your competitors' most successful content. Can you create data studies? No. Then create how-to guides. And so our competitors, I'm surprised that they are not producing more data studies because they attract links like crazy. So let's talk about the Bulldozer Technique. Okay, the Bulldozer Technique. It is a highly effective link building tactic. And if you haven't heard of it, it's because it's not real. Now, I want to ask you, with the Bulldozer Technique, who or what does this remind you of? Goliath, interesting, okay. Let's think about SEO tactics and link building tactics that are out there right now. The Bulldozer Technique. No context, right? It's Brian Dean's Skyscraper technique, right? We've all heard of the Skyscraper technique? Yes? So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze his backlink profile, and if you look at his Skyscraper page, he has 1,800 unique websites that are linking to it. That's a lot of links. So we want to know why people are linking to this page. So we're going to skim through the anchors report. And if we look at the anchors, it's giving us a little bit of context as to why people are linking to them. And most of them are branded queries like Skyscraper Technique, the Skyscraper Technique, Brian Dean, Backlinko. But there's one interesting one in here that's 110%. Why does he have over 100 unique websites that are linking to him based on 110%? So let's go into the backlink profile. And we're going to search for 110 within the anchors and surrounding text. And there are 260 links that are linking to him because of this stat. So we've just learned something interesting about this backlink profile that we can use in our pitch. So this is one segment of people who are interested in results in case studies. That's something that we've learned about these linkers. So just as a quick side note, when you see something that's working, you got to double down on it, especially with SEO. And I think Brian knows this. If you look across his entire domain, just searching for the percentage sign, he has over 1,900 websites that are linking to him because of a percentage. And it's not even unique data studies. They're his own case studies. People link to that stuff because it's interesting. Okay, so qualifying prospects and doing it fast, and the fastest way to start is to disqualify pages. So we need to remove the pages that are irrelevant. So we're not even visiting any pages at this point. So we're going to disqualify forums, Web 2.0s, direct competitors, links you don't want. So that might be PBNs, link farms, content farms, and anything else that would otherwise disqualify them. So for example, in an unlinked mentions campaign, you don't want to include people who have linked to you. So here's an example of the Unlinked Mentions campaign. We started with 4,500 URLs, removed the ones that we crawled through Screaming Frog, so the linked mentions we removed. And then you can actually, in Google Sheets or Excel, you can search for footprints like /jobs, /forum, certain TLDs like .ru, .pw, and you can start filtering for these, and then you can just delete them all at once because you're not interested. Like, how many of you reach out to Blogspot sites for links? Probably not, right? So you just weed out all the Blogspot, all the Tumblrs, and you start to build this list of footprints, and you can start disqualifying them faster and faster as you do more link building campaigns. And so at this point, we have some websites that are mentioning us numerous times on multiple pages, so we'll pick one. And now we need to manually vet this. So there's a tool called openallurls.com, completely free. You just paste in a list of URLs, you open them, and then it's going to open a whole bunch of tabs all at once. Now, don't do 250 because it'll probably crash your computer. But if you start doing them in 20s or in 30s, then literally I just use Command Tab and I qualify pages within like 10 to 30 seconds. And anything that is good, I close the tab. Anything that's bad, by the end, I have a list of pages that I want to delete from my list, delete them, and you can get through 700 URLs in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So these are our final results. With a step in terms of where we started, again, 4,500 URLs, unlinked mentions, 2,500, qualified pages, 590, and the time taken was 1 hour of my time. I spent most of that on documentation, and 22 hours from someone who's never worked on a link building campaign in his life. So it's not too bad. Next is our email finder. They need to find contact details of the qualified prospects. In terms of traits, I'm going to sum this up in 2 words: sustained attention. If you have ever tried to find emails, it is not an easy feat to do it for long periods of time. Find someone who has sustained attention where the quality of their work is not going to deteriorate at the 2nd or 3rd hour. That would be me. Don't hire me for that. Tools: Hunter, Neverbounce, Google Sheets, Clearbit, and LinkedIn. And I'm going to run through each one of these tools and how it fits into this process. Now, finding the right, and I'm using this in quotation marks, right people can be the difference between 3% and double-digit conversion rates. So info ads and support ads are usually the easiest emails to find, but they're going to yield the worst conversion rates. And so who do you contact? This is generally the order of people that I contact. So there's editors, authors, owners of single author sites, and then basically anyone who has marketing in their title, and then a generic email if there's no marketing team at the company. But it also depends on the size of the company. So 2 examples. The first one is for small and mid-sized companies. Generally speaking, any editor is going to be fine to contact. In this case, I wouldn't contact Pat Flynn for a broken link building opportunity, but I might contact him for a guest post or some kind of partnership, right? Large companies, places like Pop Sugar. The best person that you can contact is usually going to be the editor of category. So the editor of health, the editor of beauty, whatever it may be. Now, editors-in-chiefs at these kinds of companies, they're usually too busy. So don't contact Ariana Huffington and ask her to replace a broken link that's on the Huffington Post. It's not going to happen. The other one that I want to talk about are assistant and associate editors. And this one's a little bit interesting, and I've run a recent experiment actually with around 500 emails to assistants and associates. Now, the one thing that I found is that the reply rates are through the roof. They reply because they don't generally get outreach emails. They're not jaded by bad guest post pitches, but they may not have the authority to add your link or do something along those lines. So use your discretion, try it yourself. That's how I got my link from Pop Sugar. Okay, so you're going to want to determine the size of the company. So look at the About or Team page, look at their LinkedIn profile, and then you can use the filters. So in this case, I'm doing position filters for editor, content, marketing, webmaster, in that order to find the most appropriate person to contact. Then we're going to go to Hunter, and we're going to throw in the first name, the domain, and they're going to spit back an email to us. And this is the one tool that I don't think many people use that I think they should be using is Neverbounce. I don't work for them, but I feel like I promote them all the time. It verifies the email for you. And this is going to improve your deliverability significantly. So valid is good, invalid bad, unknown mostly bad, and catch-all You need to find out if they still work at the company, look for email patterns from other people in their company. Generally speaking, everyone will use the same email pattern within the company. Wrong button. But the problem with this is that it takes way too long. So I've just wasted your time, and I apologize, because we can do this all with Google Sheets and with APIs. And in the case that you don't have a programmer on your side, you can use Zapier, very straightforward to use. So let's draw out a scenario, and this is a 10-minute campaign starter, and I do use this. Let's say that you export 4,000 URLs for a guest posting campaign in Content Explorer. And 25% of those pages have author names. And so Content Explorer does provide that information in the case that the author name is available on the page. So we have 1,000 potential contacts. But let's say that 20 to 30% are quote unquote the right person. So we have 200 to 300 link prospects in 5 to 10 minutes. And then you need to vet whether it's worth your time or money. Oftentimes that'll come down to quality metrics, and the final decision will usually be made based on the actual content on the website and relevance. So this is what the export looks like. We have author names, but what we need to do is we need to parse the first name and the last name into separate columns. So in this case, we just use these formulas. Again, these will be available. And this is where the magic happens. So this is in Google Sheets. I believe it's called Script Editor, and you can write in different scripts there. So I integrated Hunter and Never Bounces API here. I'm not a programmer by trade, but I think I did it in like 26 lines of code, so it's super straightforward. But this is what's going to happen. So in cell A1, I'm going to type in start, and then it's going to find all the emails for me. And so now we have a whole bunch of emails that we can actually reach out to. Now this is a small list, but once we actually have a huge list of valid emails, let's say 200 people, we send that section off to our outreach manager. He or she starts doing the outreach process, and then the person who's in charge of finding emails is now going to go through the catch-all emails, because those are generally the fastest to validate. And so then after they do that, they're going to send that off to the outreach manager and then continue along their way with the invalid and other email addresses that are not available. And the great thing about this system is that there's constant continuity, and people are always doing something because there's always something to do. Here's a little power tip. You can add this code in here. The only thing that you need to replace is the domain cell. And it's going to basically search Google. It's going to search this query, site:/linkedin.com, in URL:/company/, and then the domain name. And what this is doing is it's searching LinkedIn company pages for the domain that you entered. And 95% of the time, as long as the company has a LinkedIn page, it is going to show you the first result and save you a bunch of time from Googling, looking around on their homepage for a LinkedIn icon. And so this is going to be a huge time saver. Next is our outreach manager. And their responsibility is to reach out and build relationships with link prospects. So in terms of traits, these are going to be your relationship builders. Communication skills are an obvious must. The one that I do want to touch on is adaptability. So link building campaigns, they never work out exactly as you planned them. And sometimes people will ask for things, and you need to learn how to control that conversation a little bit. So I've actually hired someone in sales to be my outreach manager. Tools: BuzzStream, Mailshake, Pitchbox, Google Sheets, and Google Apps, which is basically Gmail for business. So this is our list of link prospects. We've gone through the valid part, but this kind of stuff takes way too long to email them individually. So we're going to use an outreach tool: BuzzStream, Pitchbox, Mailshake, all great for what they do. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. So if you're not using one, just pick one and try it. Now we're getting into the debate of outreach emails. And this is a long debate about what personalization truly is versus a static email. So this is a so-called personalized email that I'm going to be sending to Chris right after this presentation. I'm going to say, "Hey Chris, I'm Sam, a fellow diehard content marketing advocate and angel investor. I'm contacting you because of whatever reason. Hope the weather in Orange County and San Francisco is treating you well at 68.9 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sure you're staying warm unless you're in Utah at 12 degrees. Brr. Cheers, Sam. P.S. My wife also uses my Pinterest account. Funny how much we have in common." Now, if you didn't get the joke, I'm not sending this to Chris. All of these fields can be found through APIs. It's semi-automatable, but it's just downright creepy, and no one is going to respond to this email, and if they do, run. So here's a static email. Hey there, I was reading through your blog post and found that you linked to Ahrefs' guide on keyword research. It was great, but I created an article that takes a unique approach. Might be a good add to your site. Anyone ever receive an email like this? Yes, worst emails ever. They are impersonal and they are lazy. So let's write an email based on the context of this bulldozer technique. So I found that 97th floor is linking to Backlinko's guide on the Skyscraper technique. So I'm going to click over and find out why. So it says, for a great content marketing strategy that pairs well with TF-IDF, see Brian Dean's discussion on the Skyscraper technique. And Josh has been kind enough to leave his email there for me at the bottom of the page, so he saved me some time. Now the thing is that we have a common interest. We both know the Skyscraper technique, we've both probably used it, we both recommend it, and so there's something that we have as a common interest that we can kind of connect on. So I'm going to send Josh this email, which is personalized on context. So I'm saying, hi Josh, Sam here from Ahrefs. I'm contacting you because of a new, and I should have used content marketing strategy here because that's what he called it, that I used to increase organic traffic by 833% to our blog. I'm sure you've heard of and appreciated Brian's Skyscraper technique. Not sure if you've tried it recently, but I've personally found link conversion rates are getting worse, perhaps because of spammers. So I built on it and created the Bulldozer Technique. We used it at Ahrefs for the past 14 months and convert links at 15 to 20% on any given campaign. Skipping to the last paragraph, pretty confident you'll love the strategy. If interested, I'm happy to send you a few pages on 97th Floor's blog where I can see this producing killer results, right? There's a benefit in there for him. And this is also using merge tags. So in this case, hi first, a new content marketing strategy, Brian's Skyscraper technique, not converting very well, 97th Floor's blog. And so we can technically do this at scale, and based on the actual segment that he's in of anchoring on the Skyscraper technique, which means that he knows it, probably used it, recommends it, then now we have a somewhat personalized email. And you can do this, you can create merge tags in Google Sheets. You basically just create a new column with the merge tag field name, and you fill out each individual column. Some of this can just be dragged down, so like Brian's Skyscraper technique, just drag it down for all of them. It's really fast. So what happens next? No response, probably the most common thing that'll happen. And in my opinion, I only send one follow-up no matter what. I never send 3 or 4. And the reason why is because I feel like if someone has gotten both emails and they've opened them, why do they want to receive another one from me? I'm probably just bothering them at this point. They agree to add your link or open up a conversation. You thank them, you help, you fulfill what you said you were going to do. They ask you for a paid link, thanks but no thanks. Reciprocal link or guest post, that's entirely up to you. And these are probably the 5 most common responses you're going to get. Finally is tracking and reporting. And so their job is to track link campaign progress and create reports for clients. And that's more for the agency side. Traits, I'm going to actually skip over this because this is usually going to be similar to an outreach manager or your project lead, because in a small company at least, you're going to end up doubling up on different tasks. And something like tracking, unless you're building hundreds and thousands of links, it's not really going to take up that much time. And the only tool that's different here is Data Studio. So if you are in an agency, I don't do this anymore. I don't do agency work anymore, but Data Studio, everyone that I know just raves about it for agency work. Clients tend to love it. Now, tracking and reporting is a very personal thing. So at the agency level versus like an affiliate network or a media company, they're going to track KPIs differently. They're going to track links differently. And so I won't be expanding on this too much. The only thing that I do want to recommend, at least if you're using Ahrefs, is to set up a Backlinks Alert. And so you just enter in your domain or your blog domain or wherever you're building links to, and then anytime someone actually links to you, you're going to get a notification that someone has linked to you. And the reason why you do this is because not everyone is going to respond to you and tell you that they've linked to you or thank you for it. And sometimes when I think my link building campaigns are going awful, for whatever reason, I start getting more of these. And I don't know why, but it just happens that way. So with the basic link building process, same as the scaling link building process, prospecting, they're all task-oriented systems. And because they're task-oriented, you can build on this. Like I mentioned before, with the footprints, build your list of footprints. And then as you do it, if you have a web developer, you can immediately just weed out all the sites that fall into these footprints, and it's going to speed up your prospecting so much. With emails, please use APIs for the sake of the people who are finding emails for you. It's just so much faster, and in fact, it actually takes some of the mistakes out of it. So instead of them manually typing things in, it's going to populate for you, and you're going to know whether it's valid or not. It's a repeatable process. Outreach. Segmentation is huge for outreach, and that is definitely going to improve your conversion rates on link acquisition. So segmentation is something that I always do, at least for large link profiles. And also, the outreach manager needs to know how to build a relationship, an e-relationship basically, with a complete stranger. And tracking is completely a personal choice. So again, your best links are going to come from helping people. And as you help more people, you are going to build more links. And as you build more links, then you start to rise the ranks into that Goliath kind of stage. So I will open this up for any questions. I know that I sped through that. I was just saying that I have like an hour and a half's worth of content in here to pack into 40 minutes. 41 minutes, not too bad. So if anyone has questions.
Real quick, can you give you a round of applause?
Okay, we don't have too much time so we'll just do 2 questions if that's okay. I think I saw a hand right over here. We'll wait for a mic. We'll get you a mic. 1 second. Never mind, we don't have a mic. Okay, can you just say it loud? Oh, we got a mic coming up right here.
Oh, and this is the prize.
Yes. Best question out of these 2 questions.
You have a 50% chance of winning.
What is
SEO? SEO?
First question over here.
When you talked about doing email validation, like the catch-alls,
Yes.
What extra step are you taking to verify those? Or you said it gets passed that on to somebody else. What are they doing?
Yeah, so basically a catch-all email is where the email server will accept it, will accept the email, but it won't necessarily go to someone. So it can just go to the dark web or wherever, whatever you want to call it. And so with catch-all emails, you generally want to look for other emails, whether it's been printed somewhere on a page, and then validate the email pattern. So for example, like my email at Ahrefs is sam.o@ahrefs.com. But if you send an email to sam@ahrefs.com, that's going to the dark place. And so in the case that you find that, for example, Tim Solo's email is timsolo@ahrefs.com, then it's pretty safe to assume that my email follows that same pattern. Does that make sense? Yeah?
I thought you were saying that when they verify catch-all, that you were verifying, like a response code came back from
Never bounce.
But it was just a generic forwarder or alias or something.
Like catch-alls happen at the domain level, I believe. And so a catch-all doesn't mean that it's a bad email. Like Ahrefs uses a catch-alls, and it helps to avoid things like spam or whatever it may be. I'm not that technical on the MX records and all that kind of stuff. But with the catch-all emails, they're still good emails. You just need to find the right one. And so LinkedIn Sales Navigator works well. If you're using that just to verify the email, you'll see their LinkedIn profile in your Gmail sidebar. Or even if you just copy and paste the email into Gmail, or if you use Clearbit, then you can kind of get an idea of the email patterns. And I would say I'm like 95% of the time right with catch-alls. They're pretty straightforward.
One last question. All right, back there, if you don't mind getting a microphone to him.
So I'm curious as how we can kind of take this same concept and get the data from like social mentions. So not necessarily from a blog or website, but can you do that, from like a Twitter link or Facebook or just any type of social link? Is that still valuable in an SEO perspective, or more like, do you want websites as opposed to like?
Yeah, I think in general you'd want them from websites. There are mixed thoughts on whether social actually helps boost your SEO efforts, but we have a ton of data already. Like there are numerous studies that show that backlinks from websites, contextually relevant websites and pages, have the most value in terms of boosting your rankings. Yeah.
Interesting.